Hey Bruins, and welcome back to the 10th episode of the BruinCast. I'm Kyle. Unfortunately, Ben's sick today, so he can't join us, but I'm here with the lovely Mrs. Beal. Hi, Miss Beal.
Hey guys.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're recording at the end of a day though, so it's been a long day.
Your seventh period.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
So we don't like to assume that students know who every teacher is. So if you want to give us a quick introduction, like who you are, what you teach, that stuff.
Yeah. So my name is Jenna Beal. I teach history here at Ponderosa High School. Every year looks a little different, but typically I'm teaching the AP United States History class. And then I also teach regular U.S. history and regular world history. So 10th and 11th graders.
That's exciting. So how long have you taught here?
I was hired actually in the middle of the pandemic, which a lot of people find fascinating. But yeah, so I got hired in, I want to say like April or May of 2020.
Yeah.
So this year is year 6. I think it's year 6. But yeah, I actually got hired over a Zoom. So if you guys thought doing school on Zoom was weird, imagine trying to interview for your dream job on Zoom. Yeah.
So, do you think COVID kind of impacted the need for teachers here, or was it just like coincidence that you were looking for a job when COVID happened?
Yeah, it was actually a coincidence. There was a teacher who had retired here or was in the process of retiring, and so they were looking to fill that position. My husband and I actually live in Cameron Park, and I was patiently waiting for a position to open at Ponderosa, and so I jumped on it as soon as I found out that you guys had a teacher retiring.
So before that, did you work at a school that was farther away?
Yeah, so before I taught here, I actually taught at Sheldon High School, all the way in Elk Grove. Yeah, so I was commuting like 45 minutes to an hour every single day.
And I've never commuted, but my dad does that, and he gets so tired just from the driving. Imagine school going to that and then.
Yeah, the driving, it's nice because in the morning I feel like I liked it because it gave me an hour to wake up and just drink my coffee and listen to my podcasts or whatever. But on the way home, I would be so drained and just dealing with traffic and all the things. I'd get home and I'd be so tired.
I just want to be home.
I know. So now my commute is about 10 minutes. So
a
lot nicer, yeah.
So when you got here during COVID then, what was challenging about that, entering a school with all the regulations and stuff?
Oh gosh, I feel like everything was hard. The hardest parts I think too is one of the best parts about being a teacher is getting to work alongside of your colleagues who usually really admire and have a lot of the same interests, especially history teachers. I feel like we're all a little bit of a history nerd. And with the pandemic, we just didn't have a lot of opportunities to meet up and work together. And so we were creating a lot of things. I feel like we were just in our own little bubbles. But on the flip side of that, not having students on campus for a while, although challenging to teach, it was easier for me to get well acquainted with the school, without a bunch of kids here. So I feel like by the time kids came back, I was okay, I kind of know where things are and I know who is who, and I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, but it does.
It did help.
So I know the senior class during COVID, they were 7th grade, 6th grade, and everyone below that would have been lower in grades. So none of us know what it was like at Pondo. What was it like here during that time?
Oh gosh. Wait, so seniors, you guys were 7th graders?
So it would have been 6th grade for us, in that spring that it set in, and then 7th grade was the really big year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, kids were not on campus on Mondays at all, so those were our asynchronous days. So kids were still at home doing homework.
Okay.
But they were asynchronous, and then I think the first couple weeks we were also online. But kids had specific times that they had to Zoom in to meet with us, which I feel like teaching is wonderful and hard in a classroom.
Yeah.
Teaching on Zoom was nearly impossible. Trying to keep kids engaged in a classroom is difficult, but trying to keep kids engaged while sitting at home in their bedrooms, extra difficult. But then we slowly transitioned to where each of our classes, this is going to be kind of confusing, but they split each of our classes into 2.
Okay.
And then every other day those kids would come. So let's say you had a class of 20 kids. You'd split them into 10, and then one day you would have 10 kids, and then the next day you would have the other 10 kids.
It's fine. I don't know what they did at other schools, but Pleasant Grove was the same thing, where each class is like in the morning and afternoon.
Yeah, it was because we had regulations about how close we could sit kids together. So all kids had to be 6 feet apart.
So you couldn't literally fit.
So we physically couldn't fit enough kids in our classrooms. So they were like, well, if we divide it by 2 and we only put half as many kids, can we get them 6 feet apart? I don't know if we ever actually ended up getting anyone 6 feet apart, but it was very interesting, which was also, then we also had to like teach the same lesson. So like, you know, if Tuesday we have half our class, we were teaching a lesson, and then we'd get the other kids the next day and we'd have to teach the same lesson.
So if you have 2 history classes, you're teaching the lesson 4 times in a, that's...
Yeah, so many times. And some teachers had like 4 of the same class. And so if they, 8 times, I couldn't even imagine, like 8 times. And we had to all be in masks. So even I remember those students when the mask mandate lifted and I started seeing them around campus, they'd be like, hey, Miss Beal. And I hardly recognized them because I only ever saw them with a mask on their face.
Yeah, so you see like the mouths, like, wait.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, whose eyes are those? So it was pretty funny, but also I hope we never have to go back to that.
Those are interesting couple years.
Yeah.
So with history then, how did you find history as kind of your passion, like what you wanted to teach?
Oh, that's a really good question. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I come from a family of educators, and so I feel like even by the time I got to high school, I was like pretty set on like wanting to be a teacher. I was I'm gonna call myself out, but I was the kid in my family who like forced my little siblings to like play school with me at home. Like I would like create fake worksheets and like pretend I was a teacher. My mom's a teacher, and so I always knew I wanted to teach. But then it was in high school when I really found my passion for history. I felt like I was like almost like surveying all of the different subjects and trying to figure out what I liked. I was really good at math and science, but I didn't enjoy math and science. And so English wasn't really my thing either. I didn't love that I like in English there's not always like right or wrong answers. Like I kind of like having right or wrong answers. And so by the time I got to my junior year and I started taking US history, I really had like the greatest high school history teacher. And I was like, wait a minute, like maybe this is what I want to do. I really love this. I didn't actually take any AP history classes in high school. I think that might have ruined my love for it just with the excessive work, which you've taken my class, so you know there's a lot of work. But I actually became friends with a lot of the kids who were in those AP classes, and I remember just like asking them questions about history, and like I was so in it. And then by the time I got to senior year and I got to take government, that is when I really, really fell in love. I don't know what it was. I think I like the concept of politics and like teaching about politics. I also just feel like it was, by the time I got to government, I really started understanding how history affected me as like an individual person. And the rest is history. Actually, my regular government teacher is also the AP Gov teacher, and she took me with her AP kids to the Capitol, and we got to because she knew I like loved history and loved government, and she was like, my AP kids are going, do you want to come with us? And I was like, yes. And so, you know, shout out Miss Whalen if you ever hear this podcast. But I just feel like everything changed. And then getting into college, honestly, I loved history even more. You get to be a little more specific with what you study in college, and so I got to take, you know, more history specific courses. And that was really fun because I feel like I got to actually choose things I was interested in rather than just like general knowledge of history.
So correct me if I'm wrong, with college, if you go into a history major, you choose like a certain time period or like event to study, right? Yeah,
so if you were going in to be an actual history major, that is exactly what you would do. However, a lot of teachers going into social studies actually get social studies degrees. Because we know that like those are going to be the things that we end up teaching. So like my degree is actually for social studies, so it covers like econ, gov, history, psychology, sociology, some of those other fun classes, whereas like a regular history degree would require you to, be more specific in what you're studying. Like I'm pretty sure Miss Pfeiffer actually has a history degree. So hers, it looks a little different than mine, but both are great options. It just kind of depends what you want to get into.
So if you want to get into education then, could you have a social studies degree without education? And then if getting into education then, do your classes get integrated into your major, or is that like a different set of classes that you would take after you studied?
That's a really good question. So yes, you could be a social studies major or a history major. It doesn't matter what you plan on doing with it after college. But once you graduate with your degree, then there's a whole separate program for teaching. And so there are like prerequisites that you have to take in order to get into the teaching courses and the teaching program in general. But once you're in the teaching program, then all the classes are more about teaching and less about your like specific subject. So like my teaching credential is technically in social science, but I only have a couple like different courses that I had to take versus like a math teacher who has their like math teaching credential. So
Gotcha.
It's not a ton of, or I would say it is a ton of overlap, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, any other schools, like, have you gotten to teach classes besides AP US? And you said AP US and then World, or was it regular US?
AP US, regular US, and then regular World.
Oh, so you do all three, okay.
No, those are the only courses I've ever taught. At Sheldon, that's what I taught as well. I would love to maybe teach government one day. I would love to stay away from economics.
That's like more math, right? And more
I also feel like it's like the, I don't know how to explain it, but it's the outlier. I feel like in a lot of social studies, like a lot of social studies teachers either love economics or they're like, please don't ever make me teach economics.
It's like pickles.
100%. So Mr. Gruel is like the best econ teacher ever, and he loves it, and he's so passionate about it, and he doesn't really want to teach any other history. Whereas like I'm like, please don't ever make me teach econ. I'm pretty sure like my poor students would be by the end of the year like, don't let her teach this class again. Just not a passion of mine.
So when you teach, so I had your APUS class. Teaching that class, I know a big part of it is trying to prep students for the AP exam. Even then, you still manage to work in kind of fun assignments and like kind of fun activities. So when you're going into a new school year, what's your process to kind of prep ahead for the year to figure out what you want to do with your students?
That's a great question. I think in my classes, I'm always trying to get better for my students. It might not always seem like that to students, but I think a lot of teachers are like that. Like we want our students to have the best experience that they can in our classrooms. And so at the end of, usually actually at the end of every unit, I look back on the unit and I take notes on like what went well, what didn't go well, and what I need to change. For example, last year you guys did the scrapbook project for Unit 4, and a lot of students had big feelings about the scrapbook project, mostly negative. So I did take notes on that, and this year we are not doing the scrapbook project in APUSH, and instead I did a lot of research this summer and I planned out some really great activities. So this week we actually got to do like a Shark Tank presentation.
That's fun.
So my kids got to try to sell mid 18th century tools.
So would that be like navigation tools and that type of stuff, or is it?
And we even like got into like the market revolution stuff. Selling like railroads and steamboats and things like that. And then next week, they're doing a antebellum speed dating activity where they get to be like reformers during the antebellum period. So I want class to be enjoyable for kids. I think students learn better when they're more like immersed in what we're learning. And so I like to change things up, and I 100% believe like if it doesn't work, then don't do it. And so last year the scrapbook didn't seem to work, so we're switching it up.
From a student perspective, it's kind of hard sometimes to separate that from the teacher, just because we only have a teacher for 1 year, so we don't see the change made the next year. But talking to you now, it's really cool hearing that you took the feedback. Because I know like the point of the scrapbook was because the year prior the students struggled with that section. So it's kind of a cool seeing teachers do that kind of year and year across, trying to improve. Yeah,
I definitely think it's something that students don't necessarily see. And, you know, I get it too, because when you are in high school, like your worldview is just what you see in front of you. And it's hard to see that, you know, most teachers are, you know, we are trying our hardest to get students engaged in the curriculum and learning. And like, I want you to enjoy it. Like, my goal is like, by the end of my course, I want you to say, wow, I learned so much and I really enjoyed that. Which I do think a lot of students come into high school not really loving history, but they leave high school liking it a little more.
Well, that was me. Like, in middle school, a lot of what we did was world history, so it kind of felt so distant. And obviously in middle school, like, you've had less experience, you know. In high school and college, you get more and more life experience. You start seeing the value and new perspectives into it. Like, it feels so much more relevant now than it used to. So
Absolutely. And it will only grow. Like, you will notice, like, by the end of college, you'll like history more. And as you know, go through your adult years, it all just starts making a lot more sense. And learning more leads to more questions about the world you live in. And I think that's what I love about history, is like, there's always more to learn about it. And it matters. Like, every part of it matters, especially if you love to travel. Like, I love to travel. And so when I go to new places, I want to know the history of the places I'm going to. I want to know why they speak the language they speak. And I don't know, I just find history fascinating.
It's fun. Like, there's like so many things to research. Like, there's like in every, you know, there's so many aspects. Like, the language aspect, the culture, like art, actual historical events, like all of that, like, is so interconnected, and like seeing how it affects one another is so fun. Yeah. Like, connecting the dots. So moving on then, outside of teaching history, do you do anything else here?
Oh yeah. So I help run our Link Crew program here on campus, which is for like freshman orientation and helping our freshmen kind of navigate what it's like to come to high school. And I love this program. I'm so passionate about it. I think coming from middle school, I mean, I would know long ago, but you would know not that long ago, like, how difficult it is to make that transition. And so I love the program and how it helps our freshmen. I also run a club called Young Life on campus, which is a Christian kind of youth group program for our students, and it's actually a national organization, and so we're just a little piece of it here on campus, and we do a lot of fun things. Like this week, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but down the street there's this like company that does really fun events at their property. So we're going to play glow ball,
like,
is
by the
what
highway?
It's called.
Or like, where's it at?
I think it's further down Ponderosa Road, like past the school.
Yeah.
But I think they do like paintball, and I don't know what glow ball is, but that's what we're doing. And they have a bunch of like awesome things that they do on their property. And so we're taking our high school kids this next week to do that. And I'm so excited because I love doing stuff like that and getting to know my kids kind of outside my classroom.
I think I'm not personally religious, but one of the biggest benefits I see to it is kind of creating a community for people. Like, what if you notice running that club? Is it a club?
Yeah.
It's a club.
Yep. We're a club on campus. So any students at Pondo can come.
So what have you like noticed, like how people coming into it, they kind of get involved in the community and kind of leave? Like,
Yeah, I think the community aspect is the number one draw for kids, right? We are all, even as adults, like, we are looking for places to belong and places that we can be ourselves, places where we can ask questions and not be judged. And I really feel like that's something that Young Life does really well, is it gives kids a space to be themselves and ask questions, and like, they don't have to have all the answers, or they don't have to come from a religious background to come and understand and learn and grow and all those things. And we get to take kids to like summer camp. Last year we actually took kids all the way up to Canada for summer camp, cool. Which is really cool. And it's just a great place, I think, for kids to be kids. I think a lot of you guys as high school kids, you're kind of forced to grow up really fast. So one of my favorite parts about being in the program is like getting to watch kids be kids. Like at camp, you know, when we were in Canada, kids were like riding banana boats and learning how to water ski and, you know, jumping in the pool in all their clothes at midnight, and like, just fun things. And I love watching kids be kids. And so there's been a lot of really cool pieces, and I love getting to just know the kids as who they are. Like I always say, like, I've never met a high school kid I didn't like once I got to know them. And your guys' stories are so important, and Young Life gives me the chance to get to know kids on a much deeper level.
That's neat.
Yeah.
So how did you get into Young Life and Link Crew?
So before I started teaching at Pondo, I did Link Crew at my previous school, but I always love this story. I actually went to the Link Crew training. There's the Boomerang Project puts on Link Crew training, and it was in Santa Cruz, and I ended up meeting Mr. Thomas. And if you guys remember, a couple years ago, we had an activities director named Mr. McClellan. And so Mr. McClellan and Mr. Thomas were actually there for Ponderosa doing their training. And I was there with Sheldon doing my training. And I started hanging out with them. And I was like, guys, it's nice to meet you. Any chance you know of buddy retiring at Ponderosa? Because that's really where I want to teach. And so I actually stayed in contact with them, which was super fun. And so once you're kind of trained, you're able to do Link Crew at other sites. So as soon as I got hired here, I talked to the principal and the vice principals about wanting to get more involved on campus. And so they put me in contact with Miss Selk. Okay. A lot of people don't know, before I was helping Mr. Thomas run it, Miss Selk was running it, and so they put me in conversations with her, and the rest is history. And then Young Life, actually, my parents did Young Life in high school, cool. Which is so crazy to think, because Young Life's been around since 1941.
That's a long time.
A long time, yeah. So my parents actually did Young Life in high school. That's where I kind of first heard the name Young Life. And then when I was in high school, they actually had a Young Life club at my high school, and I had heard about it, but I wasn't really involved. And then when I graduated, the young outside organization, the Young Life leaders, had reached out and said, hey, we know you just graduated, are you interested in leading? And I was like, leading? I'm gonna go to college.
Yeah.
But they said that they needed adult leaders to help them at a camp that was coming up, and I was like, camp sounds fun. So I was 19 years old, I think, and I went to camp and I was a leader, and the rest is history. Again, I just kind of fell in love with the community of it and the space. I knew I wanted to teach high school kids, so it felt like a good transition of hey, I can put this on my resume in the future, and I can kind of get to know high school kids and figure out what they like and what they don't like. And
yeah.
My hope was that it would also just make me a better teacher, and I really feel like it has. Because I do think that sometimes when you're doing this job for a long time, you lose sight of what's important to high school kids and what really matters to high school kids. And I think Young Life's really helped me in that aspect of connecting with kids on a deeper level, to understand that you guys aren't just students. You are students, but you are basketball players, and you're boyfriends and your girlfriends and your friends and your daughters and all these things, and school is not the only thing you do either. And so kind of keeping that perspective has helped me, I think, just be better for my kids.
I know any student would appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you said it's a national organization. How is it organized, and is it do different schools interact with each other, or on chapters, or how does that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so Young Life is international. It's all over the place. It was originally started in Texas. But now most areas who have Young Life chapters, they are mostly done by school. So a lot of people would say oh, is it the Ponderosa Young Life crew? And because we don't have very many leaders in our area, we call ourselves the El Dorado Young Life crew. Okay. And so high school students from any of the local schools could come here. But there are Young Life chapters all over. Folsom has a Young Life, Natomas, Elk Grove, all of these different areas. And so they really operate based on the schools, because they're not associated with a local church.
Yeah.
A lot of the students that we have come to Young Life are not necessarily church kids. Church kids are typically involved in their own churches. And so our hope is that maybe the kids who aren't as comfortable going to a church but are still curious about what it looks like to have faith, that they have kind of a safe place to come and ask those questions. And so it's been really fun to watch the area grow. But Young Life has actually been a part of Ponderosa's campus for 30 years. We've had so many leaders kind of come in and out of this area and support the students living in our county, which I think is really cool.
So when you first started teaching here, did you work with another teacher running it for a while, or did you immediately take the helm?
I immediately took the helm. Yeah. So we have we kind of have two Christian groups on campus. We have Campus Light, which was being run by Mr. Wilkes, who, funny enough, was actually used to be on the board for our Young Life area. So I feel like it's very like well interconnected here. But no one was like running an official like Young Life club on campus yet. So it's been fun to kind of bring that back to Pondo, because they have had it in the past. I remember I was talking to our area director, Jen, about it, and she said that a couple years ago they used to like walk around the parking lot and pass out donuts in the morning. That's cool. And then they were told that donuts weren't healthy enough, and so they started passing out bagels in the morning. And so it's really cool to see that like Young Life has just been a big part of this area. And sometimes when I wear like my Young Life club shirts to like football games or basketball games, I'll actually have parents who are like, oh my gosh, I was in Young Life at Pondo years ago. And so it's really cool to see just how big of an organization it is and how it really has created a lot of change in a good way.
So looking ahead, what ways would you love to like improve or change both Young Life and Link Crew?
Oh, okay. So for Link Crew, we are working really hard this year to expand the program to really support our leaders as well. Okay. I think our leaders do a really good job at supporting our freshmen. I'm sure we could always do better. But like at the end of this year, we are planning like a big ice cream party for them just to say thank you for all like the hard work that they do. Yeah. We are planning more events for our freshmen to support them during finals week, because finals for freshmen can be really overwhelming. They don't really know what to expect, but our upperclassmen do. And so we want to get our freshmen with their leaders to kind of talk about, like, what does it look like to take, a final in Spanish? What does it look like to take a final in math? And really give them those kinds of support or supports. And then for Young Life, we're just always hoping to grow. We're hoping more kids come and want to hear what we do. We're hoping really to make a difference and be a light on campus, kind of alongside of Campus Light. Campus Light they meet in my classroom on Tuesdays during lunch with their whole club, and so it'd be really great to partner with them on some more things.
I was going to ask, have you done that before, or is that like?
Yeah, so our Young Life group, the kids who go to Pondo are also sometimes a part of Campus Light, or they'll come in during Campus Light meetings and hang out and eat pizza and hear their messages. But what's really cool is we actually meet up with people from other schools all the time. And so like last Monday, our Young Life crew actually met up with what they would call the NorCal Young Life crew. And so we were out at William Jessup doing club on a Monday night with hundreds of high school kids from all over Northern California. We even had kids from like Reno, Nevada coming, Chico. So it's really cool to see like the bigger community that Young Life is, and for kids to kind of see like, hey, I'm not alone in this. Like, it's really fun to see people from other schools and find out that like they're also trying to figure out what they believe and why they believe it. And so it's been really fun to see.
So outside of school, like what are your hobbies? What do you do in your free time?
Oh my gosh. Well, now I'm a mom, and I feel like being a mom takes up a lot of my free time. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter and a 6-month-old son. So we watch a lot of Disney movies. We play outside a lot on the playground. If you looked at my Spotify playlist, you would realize I will listen to a lot of Wheels on the Bus. So I do feel like that's changed my hobbies a lot, but I love riding horses. My husband and I actually in 2020, when the pandemic hit and we were at home a lot, decided to get horses again. And so that's been really fun. I love to snowboard, although, again, don't get enough time to do that. I grew up playing soccer, and so up until, I think, like 2022, I was playing indoor soccer with my friends a lot.
So my sister rides horses. Like riding horses, I know like for her, it's we have to go to a barn for her, but she tries to ride a couple times a week at least. I think she does. I'm gonna butcher this if I try to talk for her, but she really enjoys it. So for you, like not benefits? Like what about horse do you enjoy that?
Oh gosh, yeah. So before I had kids, I was riding like your sister a couple times a week. And I grew up with horses, so I grew up on 10 acres out in Slough House, and I feel like horses were like my my escape almost. I don't know if that sounds right, but my escape from kind of the busyness of the world. Like, nothing slows you down more than like having to be on a horse, which is actually fascinating because I barrel race, which is a very like fast event, but it's still, it forces you to slow down. And I feel like being a horse owner has really tested me in a lot of ways. I have kind of a knucklehead horse who is a lot of energy, and he's taught me so much about slowing down and like figuring out how to do things well. But it's also because my husband and I both have horses, it's also become like our thing where a lot of times if we want to do like a date night or a date day during the weekend, we'll drop our kids off with either my parents or his parents, and we'll take the horses up to the mountains and trail ride. So it's become our like thing to do together, which is also really nice because, again, slowing down, no kids, being together. And I just love it. I love everything about horses. I think sometimes maybe this sounds weird, but I feel like God created women to love horses. Like, or maybe God created horses for women to love.
My sister would agree with you 100%.
Yeah, like there's something about girls and horses. Like, I feel like from a very young age, like, we just love them.
Like, if people that aren't familiar with horses, they have personalities. Like, they'll give
do.
you side eyes. They'll give you, like, they're fun.
Yeah,
like,
and it's funny. I tell people all the time that horses are just big dogs. Like,
I mean, they are.
They are, and they're each their own. And yeah, like, I've had horses who are like the chillest, like horses who would walk into your house if you left the front door open. And then, you know, my horse is scared of leaves, so you just never know what you're gonna get with horses. But I love it. I love learning their personalities, and I can't imagine my life without horses, so they'll always be a part of my life.
Love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a professional podcast host here and tie that back to the school stuff. Ready? Do you feel like horses and kind of your experience with them has given you more patience with students or more understanding?
Yeah. I really feel like everything we experience in life overlaps, right? So I feel like if I am learning to be more patient with my horses and I'm becoming a more patient person, then yes, that is absolutely going to help me become a more patient teacher. I think everything we kind of experience in life creates who we are. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the hard stuff. So yes, everything my horses have taught me have definitely made me be a better teacher. Although I would argue that sometimes my horses test my ability to be patient. So, well, I don't know if I'm always the most patient person, but absolutely.
So we're running out of time. Looking at your future 10 or 20 years down the road, like, what do you see for yourself?
My goodness. That's a question I have not been asked in a while. I would definitely still like to be teaching here. This is absolutely my dream job and my dream school. So, you know, I hope to be here for a very, very long time. But 20 years, oh my gosh. I don't know. Hopefully sitting at basketball games watching, I guess 20 years my kids would be in college. But I hope my kids play sports. I hope to be like a cool sports mom who goes to all the games and doesn't yell anything too ridiculous. I also hope that I'm just known on campus as being a teacher who really cares about kids. So maybe that looks like teaching this, maybe that, or history, maybe that looks like taking on another, you know, course at school that they need taken on, but I would really like to still be here.
No, it's so neat talking to other teachers, like even teachers that kind of came here on accident, like finding this place and falling in love with it. Like, it's such a good school.
It honestly is. Like, I've worked at a few other schools before coming here, and there's nothing, you know, wrong with those schools, but there's something special about Pondo. I think the teachers are really special. I think the kids are really special. We have fantastic administration, and I kind of feel like we're like this little group that, like, you don't know exists until you're in it, and once you're in it, you're like, oh my gosh, I never want to be outside of this group. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Pondo's great.
Well, before we wrap up, totally optional, but do you want to pitch any of your classes for students?
Oh, yes. My big pitch would be for A-Push. I think A-Push gets a bad rap because there's a lot of work involved. But I also feel like if you like history, you will love U.S. history. And I think, every year we're getting better and better. I'm getting better and better at teaching it. I'm getting more interactive. We also have really high pass rates. Like my students crush the exam, which means you get to have that college credit, which is awesome. But it really is a great class for kids who really like history. I would not encourage you to take it if you do not like history because it's really intense. But, you can chime in if you want. I think the class itself really helps kids understand not only U.S. history, but why it matters to them and helps them understand the world they live in.
Well, love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think it's great that you guys are doing this. So
Really appreciate it.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye.